Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to MBR, Nothing But Rants, the show where I find passionate topics, or rather topics that I'm passionate about, and I bring them to you. Not fiery takes, but takes that I'm fiery about. That's what we do here on this show every single good. Please, while you're here, as the bottom ticker says, hit that thumbs up, man. That's how we spread the love. That's how we get everybody involved in tonight's show. I got a loaded one for you, as I typically do. I teased it a little bit. I got something, I like to call the nasty part of college football that nobody's really talking about. I'm going to bring it to you right here on MBR tonight. We will do some football Q4BA if you want to get those in tonight. Okay, these are football-specific questions. You can feel free to hit me up at, football Q, the letter Q, 4BA, my initials, at gmail.com. We'll take 3 of those tonight. We got some really, really good ones from some of the fam, from some of you guys. So we'll answer those. And I will tell you about how I am absolutely thrilled that college football's recruiting process is returning to normal. And that's actually where we're going to start the show tonight, because it's something that obviously I'm super passionate about. And that's what this show is all about. And we're starting with something that's really ticked me off for the better part of a year now. And luckily it's coming to an end really, really soon, like June 1st soon. And I can't be more pumped about it. Let me read you a quote. Quote, people don't buy products. They buy benefits that will improve their lives. Okay. This was the model that Steve Jobs, I don't know if you ever heard of him. This is the model that he ran his business upon. Okay. Again, that quote, people don't buy products. They buy benefits that will improve their life. That was his goal. His goal was not to sell you a product. He wanted to sell you something that would enhance your day-to-day life, okay? If you can convince someone that what you provide will get your customer to that place they aspire to be, you will get them to invest. It is a very simple principle, and it is a very beneficial principle, and one that you can obviously capitalize upon. Steve Jobs wasn't selling iPods because he saw it as a way for people to play music on the go. That's not what it was about. What the original iPod was about was he saw a way to fill people's day-to-day lives with music, right? To start their day, to end their day, to carry them through their day with music. And then it ventured into podcasts, and then it ventured into music videos and yada, yada, yada. So what does this have to do with college football? What the hell is Brooks talking about? Well, I just referred to myself in third person. I didn't like the way that felt. So what am I talking about? Well, over the last 18 months or so, since the recruiting world came to a halt because of COVID-19, obviously it was a recruiting dead period. Coaches couldn't go out, or at least they weren't supposed to go out. There was some minor, bylaws in there. Like if you had a son that was competing in a local camp, you were able to attend, things like that. But for the most part, people weren't able to get out on the trail. And for the most part, they're still not able to get out on the recruiting trail, at least at the Division I level. So what it ultimately ended up doing was, and it started opening these camps, right? Camps everywhere where people are just basically taking money from kids, promising them exposure, right? Promising them that future life-changing. I'm not here to say that all non-college camps are run poorly, or they have some type of, improper meaning behind them, or improper thought processes behind them, or improper morals behind them. The majority of them are filled with plenty of opportunities for prospects to gain exposure. Okay, most of the camps that I've been to over the last 18 months, they do a really, really good job. However, with this recruiting dead period came a bunch of what I like to call snakes in the grass. Shout out to Waka Flocka. If you haven't heard that song off of his album from back in the day, you need to go check it out. It is a banger. But snakes in the grass started popping up left and right, and I mean a bunch of them. And you can call these people opportunistic. I choose to use another word, and that's conniving, because that's what they were. I've been to camps over the last 2 camp seasons, last spring and this spring, where there were no cameras, there were no lasers, okay, for 40s, there were no one-on-ones, and there were no 7-on-7s, no nothing. It was a glorified, field day event, basically. Run a 40, hand time the 40, run some 5-10 5s, do some routes on air and get out. Meanwhile, some jackknob charged every single kid at that camp about $100 and pocketed most of them. And now that college camps are returning, hopefully all these jokers that have been out here stealing money is what they've been doing. Most, not all of them. Again, the overwhelming majority of them are doing it right. Most of the camps that I go to, it's verified measurements, it's verified data points that they are ultimately turning around and giving those to college camps or college programs. I've seen kids get offers and maybe get thrown off of a board because of what they did at some of these really well-run camps, but not all of them were like this. I'll tell you a story. I was at a camp last spring, and the guy running the camp was like, "Oh, every rep you take here is filmed, every single one." And I'm looking around. I got the only camera at the event. It's in my hands. And I wasn't hired to go there and give footage to college camps, even though every single bit of film that I take goes to every single college coach that will take it from me. But no, that's not what it was. I was the only camera there. And these guys were selling the dream of, if you come here, if you put it down, if you run well, if you jump high, if you compete, all this yada, 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 we'll get you that offer that you want. Okay, 140 schools I got on my books that I can call. I got the numbers of it. I can call. If you ball out today, we'll get you there. Nah, bro. That wasn't how it was at some of these camps. And it bugged me, it irked me, and it's gone. Hopefully it's gone for good, because what's going to happen now is kids are going to start realizing, I don't get my offers from going to some Yahoo camp. I get my offers from going to the University of Georgia's camp. I get my offer from going to, if I'm a middling prospect, and get my first offer going to a Mercer camp or going to a shorter university camp that was down here in Kennesaw. That's what it's all about moving forward. Now that these college coaches can start hosting these camps again, and I'll be 1,000% honest with you, I cannot be more excited. Again, the overwhelming majority of these camps that are run by professionals, perfectly fine with them. They're great exposure for kids. They're worth every single penny. But these camps and parents, you should be aware of this. When you go to a camp that's promising your kid exposure and there's no, there's one or two media outlets there, there's no cameras actually on the event, that's not it, bro. That is not it. You just torched your money on fire. And luckily, again, snakes in the grass, they're all gone. Okay. Hopefully when June 1st comes back around, these kids get back on the actual trail and go to actual camps where actual coaches can give them actual offers. Okay. So I can't be more excited for that to happen, because honestly, it made me sick to my stomach, because if you followed me, if you know what I do, if you see my social media, that's kind of been my bag. That's what I'm all about. It's taking my camera, and I'm not a great videographer. I'm not a great photographer, but I'm good enough to where I can keep a guy in a shot and potentially put him in front of college coaches that will ultimately get him an offer. That's what it's all about. It's not about paying $100 to run a 40, jump a broad jump, and do a vertical and leave. That's not what it's about. And that is gone, hopefully, for the rest of time. I don't want to see anything like this ever happen again. And again, the camps, and I don't want to be taking shots at the guys. So I'll tell you the ones that I love. If you're a parent watching this right now and you're like, next spring, before college camps open up, I want to get my son warmed up or my daughter or whatever. I want to get my son warmed up for the camp circuit in college. Take him to the MVP camps. Take him to the Rivals camps. Take him to the FBU camps. Take him to those types of camps where and I'm telling you, that you can trust that it's verifiable data and it's going to the right hands. The Under Armour camps, that's invite only. Okay. They're ran exceptionally well. All that data goes straight from there to the college programs. Those are the ones you need to be seeking out. Don't be going out here and wasting your money on something that ain't going to benefit your child's future. And that's the bottom line, because Brooks Austin said so. Sorry, we've been on a WWE kick every once in a while on the Discord channel. So we've been watching a lot of WWE highlights, and those are always fun. Let's get to these football Q4BAs now that I'm nice and off of my high horse about that. I need to get logged into my Gmail account, probably something I should have done prior to tonight's show, but hey, can't always be perfect. Can't always run it like a well-oiled machine, but every once in a while we'll get it done. All right, we are going to start tonight with our boy Carter Black. Okay, Carter Black says, hey, Brooks, you may have already covered this. I have it. I know I have it because I read the email before the show. Defenses are at a disadvantage today because of the, quote, rules that favor the offense. My question is to you is, Can you explain what these rules are and then maybe dive into methods in which defenses can counter this? Thanks. I really appreciate your content. Keep grinding. Carter, I appreciate you. But let's talk a little bit about this, right? So the number one rule that comes to mind when I think about this is what has completely changed the RPO game, okay, run pass options. And why they're so prevalent in the college game as to opposed to maybe the pro game is what we call the 3.5 yard rule. Okay, offensive linemen in college football can go upfield up to 3.5 yards. Okay, so if you know anything about linebacker alignment, that's about where the heels are of the linebackers inside the box, right? Heels at 4 yards is what my coach always used to say. Heels at 4 for the linebackers. So if the offensive line can get 3.5 yards downfield, whereas in the NFL, it's, I believe, a yard, they can't really extend past the line of scrimmage if the ball's being thrown. You've got now a major problem where offensive linemen and 3.5 on game day when the line judge really isn't paying attention because he's got 1,000 things to watch and the game's moving like crazy speed. That 3.5 yards sometimes stretches out to 5.5, maybe 6. Okay. So that thing right there, that rule alone is what's really changed the game of college football. And then you take into account all the targeting rules, right? Taking out the big hits, maybe wide receivers. And I hear old heads say this all the time. Back in my day, you had to be worried about running across the middle. Yeah, you did. And we took that out of the game. And in my opinion, it was for the betterment of the game of football and for the future of the game of football. So, yeah, 10 if you play Cincinnati, says Gucci Goo. But that's my number one thing in terms of a rule change or whatever that has impacted the college game the most. When you get to the NFL game, it's the protection of the quarterbacks, right? You don't want to – the lay-on rule is the biggest nonsensical rule I've ever heard. You're telling me a defensive end in the NFL that's 6'5", 270 is just – not supposed to tackle, wrap up, and fall down on the quarterback? Nonsense. Get it out of here. And also the defensive back rules where almost everything nowadays in the NFL is a pass interference call. And they've given, well, at least they experimented with giving, coaches opportunities to challenge pass interference calls. All of those calls have been tailored towards the offense. And to be 100% honest with you, Carter, for this example, my son's name, actually, great name there. To be honest with you, Carter, that's the game of football's way of making it just a bit more exciting. If I'm going to be 100% honest, when I sit down to watch a college football game or a professional football game, the last thing I want to watch is 14-3 against Kentucky. I tweeted and kind of made a joke that, at the Kentucky game, I think I said, and I can't quite remember, but the tweet was, here's my post-game article. I put a colon. We just went back to the 1920s and watched a football game. That's what it felt like to me to watch. And I know defense wins championships and slobber knocker football is fun to watch. Not for me, okay, and not for the average fan. All right, so those things to me have really, really impacted what's going on in the college game and the pro game. But most importantly, that 3.5 yard rule. It's what has caused RPOs to take over college football. And honestly, I don't think they're going away with it anytime soon. I don't think there's going to be a rule change that impacts it. I don't think they're going to knock that down to 2.5 yards because honestly, what's the damn difference? Because I just told you during a game, those things change anyways. During a game, those things end up extending past that 3.5 or 2.5 yard threshold. And you've got guards and tackles reaching up to the second level when the ball's being pulled and they're throwing the ball. And it's really, really tough on defenses. And on top of that, you got to think about the pace of play is what's really enhanced scoring, right? But that has nothing to do with a rule change. That has everything to do with a philosophy change, right? And the counteract to this, to finish up your back end of this question, I know we're getting a little bit long here, but the back end of his question was what are the defensive methods to kind of counteract this thing? Number one thing, the star position, right? The nickel corner. That has made its way into college football and is here to stay. The outside linebacker position, guys, I'm here to tell you, it's gone. I've talked about this, and I know there are players that are listed as outside linebackers, but what they are is edge rushers. They are paid to get after the quarterback. They are paid to rush the quarterback. They are paid to set the edge in the run game. They are edge defenders. They are not outside linebackers. I'll tell you this, the odds of, and I think I did some data tracking on this a while back. The NFL last year, I think, ran 68% of their plays defensively out of nickel formations, and that's without the RPO. I mean, very few professional programs are really running the RPO at a high clip. All right, so those things is how the defenses have counteracted, right? We're going to play 5 DBs. Georgia does this great thing where they'll roll the strong side safety almost into the box, into the middle of the field, and the only thing that's doing is trying to take away that slant from the slot receiver off the RPO action, right? That's what that whole thing's for. It's to counteract the passing option off of it, because as we're reading RPOs, and I know we're getting into the weeds here, but shocker, the film guy wants to break it down for you. As that read is given, right, that quarterback's reading that inside linebacker, that play side inside linebacker. If that guy sucks up, I'm hitting the slant. Well, what Georgia started doing was, that's fine. We'll suck up the linebacker and bait you into throwing that slant. And then Lewis Seen or Richard LeCount is going to come take a body shot right into the midsection of your wide receiver. Used to be he's going to take his head off. Now it's we got to aim for the midsection. So, yeah, that's how the game is evolving, and that's how the defenses are evolving for the game. Appreciate you for the question, Carter. One of the loyal listeners around here. All right, Tim Cantrell asked, appreciate you answering my question last time, boss. It's been a while. Sorry, we hadn't got to these lately. Today, I am wondering how defensive subs work. Maybe offensive to reactionary. If coach calls a certain play, how do the players know who goes in? Like, I get that 11 positions are all needed. Change symbols. All right. So bottom line, sorry, Tim, your wording on your email is just a little bit funky. He's trying to ask how defensive players are substituted in and out of the field. If you watch Georgia, they play about 40 guys on Saturday. Okay. Legitimately, they play a boatload of guys. I think in 2019, they set some kind of, I would assume it's a record. I think they played 40 guys over 100 snaps or something insane like that. So how they do this, okay, and it's the reason you've seen analyst staffs really, really grow, right? Georgia's probably got 15 guys in the box on Saturdays. They're up there. They're all watching different things, and a couple of those guys are what I would call personnel analysts. Okay, they're sitting there with binoculars, and they're saying, oh, we've got 11 personnel, right? One back, one tight end. We've got 11 personnel from the offense coming onto the field. Well, Kirby and Georgia, depending on the situation, they've got a certain package for that offensive package, right, that they've worked on all week. If we see this, we're going to counter with this, all right? And whatever the names of the packages are, if it's NASCAR or whatever they come up with, that's how they get into these packages, and it's all based off personnel from the offense. So what you've seen the NCAA do is that line judge, that umpire will stand over the ball if the offense makes a substitution. This is the NCAA allowing, and this is, some people call it the Saban rule because he was the one that really, really got hot about it. If the offense substitutes, the umpire will stand over the ball until the defense gets set, essentially, until the defense has opportunities to run guys onto the field. So that allows, as these offenses are playing fast, for the defense to counteract with any type of personnel matches or any type of personnel differentiations that come onto the field from the opposition. Does that make sense? So it's all coded into words, right? We have names for packages, and we have analysts in the box with big old binoculars counting the formation, seeing who's coming on and off to the field. Prime example, anytime Georgia over the last 2 years has seen 12 personnel, one back, two tight ends. Tennessee ran it a lot last year. Alabama likes to get into it occasionally. What Georgia would do is they'd counter with playing the Jack and the Sam on the end of the line of scrimmage, get into what we call a bear front, which is where there is a head-up nose, Jordan Davis, 2-3 techniques. Last year it was Devontae Wyatt and Malik Herring, and then they'd line up those two outside backers, the Sam and the Jack. Azeez Ojulari and Jermaine Johnson was mostly the pairing there, and they would line them up into a bear front, okay? So it's all personnel matching. That's what great defenses do. As a matter of fact, that's what all defenses do nowadays. You're not going to see anybody just line up and play the same 11 guys over and over again. It's all about having fresh bodies. Apart from that, okay, apart from personnel matching, it's situational matching, right? Another prime example of this is the rabbit package is what I would call it that Georgia runs, okay? When you see 3rd and 7+, all right, when we're down in a pass-heavy situation, the last couple of years, it's been names like Jalen Carter down there in at nose tackle, Trayvon Walker in on the play, Azeez Ojulari, Adam Anderson, Jermaine Johnson, Nakobe Dean, Quay Walker. That would be your front seven in those situations. Maybe a front six and play nickel behind it, most likely. So maybe drop Jermaine Johnson, bring Adam Anderson onto the field and let him rove around like a linebacker kind of thing. So that's what you've seen now, where it's personnel matching, okay, and watching what's going on and off the field for the opposition, and situational matching. If we have a 3rd and 7, no matter what position or whatever group or pairing that you're running offensively, we know you're trying to pass the football, okay? So we're going to put guys onto the field that we know can win their one-on-ones in pass rushing situations. Make sense? Hope I figured that one out for you. Appreciate you, Tim, for the question. All right, our last question of the night actually came today via the Discord. Told him to hit me up in the football queue for BA. And if you want me to answer any of these are you've been watching football for years and you don't know how they do a certain thing. These are these questions because I find that, the common viewer, if you haven't been just absolutely diehard football guy or maybe played it since you were, 5 years old like I have, some of these things you just don't know. You just watch and you're like, oh, we scored. Yay. Oh, we gave up touchdowns. Defense terrible. Okay, so that's what this is for. So if you have a intricate question, I think one of these times we answered how they signal in plays, stuff like that. If you've got one of those questions, hit me up, footballq4ba@gmail.com. Our last one of the night, again, comes from Thomas Tyson. Shout out to the Discord fam. He says, hey, Brooks, as someone who has never played football, there you go, I was wondering how college coaches like Kirby prepare week to week for their next opponent. We all know watching tape is important to look for strengths and weaknesses, but what else are these coaches doing, and what are they actually physically practicing in the facilities every week? So I don't know how Georgia runs because I haven't been in that facility. I don't know that program that well. Obviously, I don't know how they're preparing for football games. I just know how they go about playing those football games because I'm not in on those meetings. But I can tell you how I would run my program, and I can tell you how I had programs ran in the ones that I play for. So Sunday night, you come in, you watch the previous week's film. Okay, maybe Sunday morning, not much time off for college football players. Shocker. Okay, Sunday you come in, you watch the previous game, whether you played on Saturday or whether you played on Thursday. You come in, you get your grade, you go through it with your position coach. You have a team meeting first. They tell you how dog water you were that week, and then they look forward toward the next opponent, right? That's what happens Sunday. Now, Monday typically starts with a 6 a.m., 7 a.m. team meeting, breaks into, offensive meeting or defensive meeting, and then that ultimately breaks into position meetings. And what these are for, okay, by Monday morning, all teams and all these football programs have collected the data on the next opponent. Okay, so what that means is as an offensive coach preparing for a defensive, a defense, right? Let's say Georgia's getting ready for Clemson. Monday morning, they will sit down and they will say, they run 40% cover 2, they run 30% cover 3, and they run 30% man-to-man coverage, single high safety type stuff. So they'll talk coverages, and then they'll talk to you about the front 7 look, what they like to play. Are they an odd front defense? Are they an even front defense? Are they an under defense? Are they an over defense? Okay, really getting into the weeds now, but this is how this is done. All of the data is collected. They give you exact percentages. So in other words, what that provides for coaching staffs is being able to at least attempt to predict what you're going to get in certain situations. That play sheet, that Waffle House play sheet that you see offensive coordinators walking around with, defensive coordinators walking around with nowadays, they are situationally based. 3rd and 2, we like these things. 3rd and 7, we like these things. 1st and 10, we like these things. Drive openers, we like these things. It's a way for these guys to call plays much, much faster and get in and out. And they're all done in that previous Monday, okay? It's all that data collection is done so they can attempt to predict what they're going to get. Now, as it goes to in-week practice, right? What they're doing physically was the question Thomas asked. How they're going about practicing these things. It's all situational football. Kirby Smart talks about it all the time because he's a damn good coach. Kirby Smart talks about it all the time. We want to be great at situational football. So what they'll do during the week is they'll have an openers period, right? Just like they broke the film down, they'll practice that way. We have an openers period where these are the things we like when we open a series. Then they'll do, short yardage period where it's 2nd and 2, 2nd and 4, 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2. These are the things we like. This is the defensive front we'll get, vice versa for the defensive side of the football. And then you'll maybe get into a red zone period, right? You'll do a 3rd and long period where you're practicing against what you're expecting to see on Saturday against your next opponent. And then apart from that, it all goes down to individual responsibilities for studying your own guy. My offensive line coach, I had 5 of them, but my favorite one was Coach Bullock. He's actually at an HBCU up north nowadays. But Coach Bull, his job, or our job for him was Monday, we would watch the film together. Tuesday and Wednesday, we would have to bring him basically a scouting report on the next guy, on the guy that we were going to face. So if I had Delta State, if Delta State rotated 3 nose tackles, Tuesday, I'd have to give him the scouting report on nose tackle 1. Wednesday, I'd have to give him the scouting report on nose tackle 2. And then Thursday, vice versa. You see, so it goes from a team-oriented studying, right, a team-oriented game plan to an individually based game plan and study habit. That's right, doing as much as you can. So, yeah, film study's great. It's invaluable for preparing for your next opponent. But the data collection nowadays has gone rampant, okay? And most of these things like Huddle will do it for you. If you input all of your data correctly into Huddle, okay, if you've ever seen an actual team-specific Huddle where they've got, what the opponent is running in terms of coverage, what they're running in terms of front, what the situation is, Huddle does it all for you. Okay, you can filter through everything you have, so it's made it really, really easy on these coaches. But it's hard in the sense that you got to input all that data, right? It's long hours grinding, quote unquote, grinding the tape, but you're really just watching the tape and inputting the data as you go. So I hope I answered that question for Thomas there, and I hope I can get some more questions rolling in. Not necessarily tonight, but in the future. Again, that's Football Q for BA. We appreciate you on that one, and of course, we will finish tonight's show with traditional Q&A. We'll get you guys rattled off with some questions in here. If you want to start getting them in there, feel free. Super subs, we always get to you whenever. So if you want my question now, because maybe you can't leave or maybe you can't stick around for the full show, feel free to hop that in there with a little super chat, and we will take care of it for you immediately. So that's Football Q for BA. I love those segments, man. I love educating as much as I possibly can. And we're running fast tonight. If you can't tell, I had a souped up cup of coffee, Death Wish coffee, not a plug, should be. Y'all need to, I'm calling on you now. Okay, I know I asked for your support in tons of different ways, including patreon.com/Brooks Austin. But guys, Death Wish coffee, go get in those daggone mentions and blow them up, because I name drop these guys every single time. And the energy and the infectiousness that you guys like about my takes, or at least I think some of you do, it's Death Wish provided. I'm telling you. 9 times stronger, whatever, 10 times stronger than the average coffee. It's great stuff, and it gets me juiced, and it gets me rolling through, at this point, 3 segments in under 30 minutes. Pretty impressive. 2 segments. We're getting on to our 3rd, and this is the one we teased. This is the dirty side of college football that nobody's really talking about. So buckle your chin straps. We're a football-oriented show. Buckle your chin straps, because we got one going for you. No. College football is turning a complete blind eye to something. And matter of fact, I think they kind of should. But it's the Wild Wild West right now, and I'm going to try to put my best spin on what they should be doing in terms of regulating and legislating this type of stuff that's going on. And, of course, it is portal-oriented. Per the NCAA rules, in order to receive contact from another college football program while playing for your current program, okay, you got to enter the NCAA transfer portal. We all know this, right? That is the rule. That is the letter of the law. That's the letter of the law. Now, let's all take a massive collective laugh right here, because I'm telling you right now, if you think college football coaches aren't violating players that aren't in the portal, I got a whole nother thing coming for you. I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to name programs. I'm just going to tell you that it's rampant, okay? If you think that a college football program and a major Power 5 program is sitting around waiting for, Jimmy to enter the transfer portal in order to feel him out and see how happy he is and whether or not he'd be a good fit for their program, your head is buried in the sand. It is absolutely buried in the sand, okay? So, and it works both ways, okay? It ain't just college coaches blowing up high school player, college players that are elsewhere. It ain't that, okay? It ain't just that, I should say. It works both ways. The first time 5-star Sammy is yelled at during practice, or he doesn't like the way he's being used during the game, or whatever his, snap count is, or whatever, he's calling school number 2. I'm telling you that right now. He's getting on his phone. Those same guys that recruited him like hell out of high school Why wouldn't he call him? Hey, y'all got any extra space? Y'all got any extra space? I ain't really vibing over here where I'm at now. I know y'all love me out of high school, but y'all trying to take me now? That stuff's happening. It's happening left and right at all these programs. There is no way you can sit here and tell me all 2,000 players or however many it is nowadays in the transfer portal were doing this thing by the book. And they're going to their new school by the book. And I know what you're thinking. Oh, here we go again. Brooks is bagging on portal culture. I kind of am. And in a sense, I am. But I think there should be a caveat to this rule, if you will, considering we are completely entering free agency in college football. I was talking to somebody the other day, and, I get asked thousands of questions in the Discord and on Patreon. Thousands isn't a lot, but when you consider what all happens in my mentions on Twitter and what happens on Facebook and what happens all over these places with super passionate fans, I can't tell you how many times I've gotten the question of, hey, I heard so-and-so is unhappy. I heard so-and-so might be hitting the portal. It's all over the place. We are entering free agency. It's here. So it's not coming. It's here. It's already here. And what that means is in a couple of years, portal entries and portal exits we're not even going to cover them, guys. It's going to be like, oh, yeah, so-and-so left. You put a little nug out there on your Twitter feed, or you'll put it on your Patreon account, or you'll maybe write a story about it. But honestly, if you're going to sit there and write stories about it, you're going to be writing 18 portal entry stories a year for whatever program you cover. That's what we're getting into. It's going to be like that. In 3 years, it's going to be commonplace. It's going to be absolute commonplace. 5-star Sammy didn't play as a freshman. He's at a new program. That's what's happening. It's going to happen. And again, I am bagging on this a little bit, but I do believe there should be a caveat, a hidden rule, not necessarily a hidden rule, but they need to change this idea of you can't receive contact until you enter your name in some mythical portal. It's nonsense. It's absolutely nonsense. Media clicks and all that good stuff. But here's what I'm suggesting. Okay. What you can't do as a head coach, and this should be a rule, what you can't do as a coach is call another program's player and start sweet talking them. That's not what it should be. Okay. But that doesn't mean, in my opinion, players shouldn't be able to contact these programs. Okay. Whenever they want. I do believe now to an extent, it's going to get rampant, but that's fine. If you got Jimmy calling every week saying, I'm trying to get out of here, yada, 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 you're probably going to turn away from him anyways. Okay. So I do believe that it should be like high school recruiting is now. When you're a freshman and sophomore in high school, if a coach reaches out to your high school coach and says, hey, here's my number, get little Jimmy to call me, we want to talk to him. Okay. Little Jimmy picks up the phone and calls coach. Okay. At whatever program. That's legal. Now, what they can't do is coach from, Tittawatta Tech can't call little Jimmy until he's the September of his junior year. I think that's the way this ought to be. I think college players should be able to reach out to programs and kind of gauge their feeling. Okay. This is no different than what happens in the NFL. All right. We're talking about free agency. What do you think happens in free agency? NFL players that are about to enter free agency, they get to get a feeler about what the vibe is around them in the NFL. They get to see what's going on in terms of what their market value is. I think that should be able to happen because with these college kids, at least, because what you have now is guys entering the portal thinking that their market value is one thing, but in reality, it's a completely other thing. And now what ends up happening based off that is Jimmy goes from program A in Power 5 football, hits the portal, thinks everybody and their mama is going to be calling to get little Jimmy to play for him. And then Jimmy ends up in the Division II ranks. He didn't know. He didn't know his market value. He didn't know what he was worth. He didn't know the general interest on what's going on outside of the program he's at currently. So what I do believe is that, again, to start from the top, I think these kids should be able to call, and get the feel out, or at least maybe have, well, that's getting into the portal entry discussion again, but maybe have their coach or a liaison at every school that's almost like a counselor that works to give the natural or the legitimate feedback of other programs. And I do believe that if you allow these kids to figure out their marketplace, maybe, and this is just a name, I don't know, maybe Trey Blunt realizes maybe I don't want to go to Old Dominion. If that's all I've got, that's all I'm worth. Maybe Matt Landers or whatever. Maybe Tommy Bush says, maybe I don't want to go to North Texas. Maybe I just want to ride it out here. Maybe I just want to sit here and get my degree and maybe play a couple snaps here and there and have Georgia fans yelling at me for quitting on routes. And that's okay because I'm having the time of my life outside of the football field. Maybe that's what happens. Okay. Maybe these guys that hit the portal from Oklahoma State or wherever don't end up having to go JUCO or having to go to Division II football or having to go to FCS programs. And I'm not here to crap on those programs. But what I am here to do is protect these young individuals that are making young individualistic decisions. They're not going to always make the best decisions. So as an adult in the situation, as the adult in the program, you should want those kids to have as much information as humanly possible before they make a decision of entering a transfer portal or before they make a decision of leaving a program blind. Because yes, we know it happens. We know college kids are calling out already. We know college coaches are calling kids at other programs to feel them out, see if they're happy and things like that. We understand. But, I just feel like if you're really in the best interest of all of these kids, you should probably allow them, again, to feel out their marketplace, to see what's going on, to see what the general interest is upon them. What you shouldn't be doing is allowing a coach from Texas A&M calling a player from LSU or calling a player from LSU's parents and saying, hey, I see Jimmy's not getting much playing time. Maybe he wants to come back over here. Okay, that shouldn't be happening, all right? But what should be happening is little Jimmy being able to see, hey, if I do hit the portal, I have no home. I have no home that I'm willing to live in. Okay, I think that would be I think it would decrease the amount of total numbers that we see in this transfer portal, and B, it would protect the ultimate decisions of these young individuals. And isn't that what we're all here for? I know the pageantry of college football is great, but the most important thing, in my opinion, is that you take care of the kids that feed your addiction and your patronage to college football. I think that's important. I think it's great for the game to make sure kids are taken care of emotionally and physically when they're playing college football. Sue me if you think that's a bad idea. Okay, you know what I mean? I mean, I don't think it's unrealistic to expect that the NCAA and these college programs should be out here looking out for the best interests of young players. Okay, so if you allow them, again, to figure out what their market is and feel out what the interest is on them, maybe we don't have 2,000 portal entries every single year. Okay, maybe it dwindles down to 1,500. And that's 500 kids that may have made the best decision in not making a decision. You know what I mean? I think that's important. Again, all right, so here we go. We have got to get to Q&A now. I see the chat's going wild. Do y'all even watch the show? I mean, seriously, are y'all just here to talk to each other? I get it, but I'm looking over here in the corner of my eyes, and we got all kinds of stuff about what ain't what we're talking about. You know what I'm saying? So I'm here for it. I'm glad that you guys are having a great time talking back and forth to each other. But yeah, can we get some Q&A questions, football related questions in here? Here we go. Let's go all the way back up. See if we can find some. We got a Clemson oriented question about being +4. Man, leave it up to Thor to be in here using terms I can't be putting out on the actual stream. But I'll read the question out loud without, whatever. What are your thoughts on as Georgia opens as a +4 point dog to Clemson? Pun intended. I don't, guys, it's freaking May. It's May. If you're out here gambling on games that are going to be played in September in May, we're going to have to go see somebody. You know what I'm saying? We're going to have to talk about what I don't think you can explain it any other way. Maybe an addiction, maybe an addiction to gambling. I get it. It's fun to talk about. It makes Georgia fans mad. How can we be a 4 point dog? Guys, it's May. It's May. I've been on radio stations all week, as typical. And one of the radio stations, my guy Christian Gokel down there at ESPN Coastal, just had to pin me down for a Georgia Clemson discussion and a prediction. And I'm like, dude, it's May. You'd be an idiot to be out here talking about, predictions and line sets and stuff like that. I don't care. We'll write about it. We will write about it. Don't get that twisted. We will write about it. We've already written about it because it drives clicks. You guys enjoy it, but I could give two hoots about what's going on there. Is he actually sponsored by Death Wish now? No. which is why I need you to blow them up. I need you to be tagging Death Wish in every comment and every tweet and get them on here. They flirted with me. They don't know the vibe. They don't get how strong my militia is. So I need my militia to crank it up. And they are a militia. We have so many veterans and active service members in our Patreon account that it almost terrifies me. I don't know what I got going about me that says, yeah, military, because it ain't me, except for the high top fade. I can never do it. I respect the hell out of everybody that's ever done it because I'm far too selfish and locked up in my own individual goals to be out here serving like that. So hats off to you guys. Appreciate you for everything you do. But nah, I don't even know how we got there from Death Wish. Militia. Yeah, we got a full-fledged militia behind us. So take that militia and send it into Death Wish's mentions. I'm calling upon all of you right now. Here we go. More questions. Let's get to them. Check out Marcus Orsimi's latest clip. These are all old comments. These are literally from 10 minutes ago. That reminds me of a question I want to ask Brooks. Well, ask it, goofball. Weakest point of the offense. We'll attack this one right here. Weakest point of the offense. Or actually, we'll go how many sacks allowed this year. We'll go in order as much as we can. Oh, nope. We got some more up here. Sorry. All right, Brooks, question for you. How much do you think the injury Pickens has suffered forces him to grow up? I don't know if it's about growing up for George. I think when injuries like this happen, there's a serious instillment of how much football means to him. So maybe it's not growing up, right? Maybe it's not, whatever, a maturation period. Maybe it is. But I think most importantly, when a season like this looks to be on the brink of being taken away from an uber talented football player like this, they realize like, oh, football is not a constant in my life. Football is a privilege in my life. And I have to go about every single day earning the right to absorb that privilege. So maybe it's not him growing up or forcing him to grow up. But what it does do is force you to find out whether or not you truly love the game of football. When you suffer a major injury like this and you have to grind through the rehab process and you have to work your butt off while watching all your teammates excel on the football field, it really, really makes you realize, A, how much you love it, B, how much you need it. And maybe, that's for your opinion to make. Maybe you think George needed that. I think it certainly won't hurt for a player of this age to realize this now. And especially, if there's any upside out of it, that's what it is. And honestly, it looks to be a very, very returnable injury, 100%. He's ahead of every bit of, milestones when it comes to rehab. And if you're on patreon.com/Brooks Austin, you already know that. All right. Who will UGA's left tackle be versus Clemson? Great question, Chandler. And I wish I had an answer for you. You guys know by now I'm not going to BS. But what I will tell you is that there's two different answers to this question. There's what it's most likely to be, which I do think it's most likely to be Jamari Sawyer at left tackle with Tate Ratledge at right guard. And here's why. If you're going into a football game with Xavier Thomas, Brian Brzee, and Miles Murphy, what you don't want is questions at tackle, okay? I can hide you. I can do my best to hide you on the interior. I can't hide nobody at left tackle. It's absolutely schematically impossible. You're going to have to change your entire offense if you have, a liability, if you will, at the left tackle spot. And I'm not saying Xavier Truss, Broderick Jones, and Arian Smith would be a liability. But if Kirby Smart's, history as a coach tells you anything, he's always going to trust experience and guys that he knows are going to have the playbook under, complete wraps when it comes to that football game. So I think he leans more towards the experience and a guy that he knows can man down that left tackle spot. Maybe he's not an all SEC or all, American caliber football player, but that's the answer in terms of my opinion, who I think is going to be the starting left tackle. Is it going to be like that the remainder of the season? No, I don't believe so. I believe eventually, especially with those cupcake games that they get immediately after that, you start seeing guys mix in and earn a spot at that left tackle spot. What I would do, what I think is best for Georgia, especially best for Jamari Sawyer, is to kick him into left guard and figure out Darren can man that down. If Broderick Jones can figure that out, if Amarius Mims is ready to play. And I'll be honest with you. I went back and rewatched it the other day. of all those guys, I think Amarius Mims might be ready to play first. It's crazy. It's asinine to say that because he's a freshman. We only got 2 hours of watching him during a game-like situation, and it was against the 2s and 3s of Georgia's defensive line. But that dude's bona fide. He's 100% bona fide. I do have questions about that we talked about knowing the playbook, right? What you cannot have is going out there against Clemson in a nationally televised game, what's going to be one of the biggest games in college football next year, and wondering every play if your left tackle knows what he's doing. Okay. If your left tackle is having to turn around and look and say, hey, what do we got? You can't have that going on. So there you go. How many sacks allowed this year? I don't really study sacks allowed. I think we were projecting it the other day that Georgia might go plus 50 in terms of sacks of them, like having their own sacks in that aspect. But I don't know. I think, I'm genuinely concerned based off what I saw in the spring game. And everybody's like, well, Georgia's front seven is one of the best in the country. You know who else is? Clemson. Okay, and that's the only defensive line that they're going to face like that in the remainder of the year. But it's still loaded up. Florida ain't too shabby at that defensive line position either. I know this is a Georgia channel, but I'm here to give you the real every once in a while. Florida ain't no joke in terms of their front four and front seven in entirety. So there you go. Weakest point of the offense right now. We just spent 10 minutes on it. I think it is the offensive line, 100%. I think you got all the weapons in the world. You got a great quarterback. The only questions I have offensively are what's going on up front. Do you see massive transfer attrition at another position besides DB before the season starts? Attrition's loss of players, right? So I think Georgia's lost all of their defensive backs that they're going to lose. Hopefully, if you're a Georgia fan, good God, you can't lose much more, right? So I think that's it. But yeah, we still got 14 days to June 1st. So I would imagine there's going to be some more players hit that portal. And in terms of, are they going to be at a singular position? I don't believe so. When it comes to guys getting disgruntled, you got to look at positions that are really, really deep, which despite how many questions there are on offensive line, they're loaded with a bunch of talented guys that may or may not ever see the field at Georgia. That were extremely highly touted recruits coming out of high school. So maybe that's a position that you end up seeing guys bounce out of. But as of right now, it's not pointed. I can't tell you based off the names that I've heard. Like I told you, if I told somebody this in the Discord channel the other day, if I came to you guys with every single name that I thought might be entering the portal because he's a disgruntled player, I would misreport 25 times a year. Every single, at this point, it's almost like a weekly basis. Every single almost week or month, there's a certain player that I hear over and over and over again about how disgruntled he is, how upset he is, or whatever. And the next thing you know, he's still playing on Saturdays and he's still a Georgia Bulldog. That's the life that we're in college football. You're going to have players get upset, and you're going to have recruiting analysts and analysts on your staff and coaches and position coaches doing their best job at convincing that football player to stick around in their program. That's the reality where we're at. We are way behind on questions. My bad. Highest draft prospect on the team. Considering the value of the quarterback position, I think it's going to be JT Daniels. That's what it is in my opinion. I know there's takes of Jordan Davis. There's takes of George Pickens. Maybe Adam Anderson sneaks into the bottom of that first round. Maybe Trayvon Walker has a 10-sack season and 15 TFLs and just goes bonkers and gets in there and freaks out at the NFL Pro Day or NFL Combine. That's all a possibility. But when you're talking about a quarterback that's in a Heisman contention or a Heisman Trophy conversation, like I believe JT Daniels is going to be this year, and considering the ultimate talent of a quarterback like that, it's a quarterback league and it's a quarterback draft. That's what they do. If this year wasn't an example of that, I don't know what to tell you. And it's going to be loaded up next year at the position too. So that would be my guy in terms of highest draft capital. Kirby going to be flying around in his helicopter recruiting come June? No, it's a quiet period come June. And what that means is players can come to campus, but coaches cannot leave campus to go recruit. So there you go. Sorry, left tackle week 1, guard the rest of the year, and let whoever wins the job take his lumps and be ready for the playoffs. Exactly my opinion there. I'm agreeing with that. Any under-the-radar breakout players for this next season? In this market, guys, and I'll be honest with you, in this market at Georgia, there's not a player that I'm going to name in these rattle off in these next 45 seconds that you haven't already heard or you haven't already read an article about or you didn't know that was really, really talented. The first one that comes to mind is Arian Smith. With the level of verticality that Todd Monken likes to play with in his offense, they're going to be throwing shots to this kid a lot. I love Kendall Milton. You guys know as much as everyone else that I'm all over Kendall Milton. Jermaine Burton's already had his breakout offensively. Defensively, if Georgia's going to be as good as they have been defensively over the last couple of years, Quay Walker's got to play like he played in the spring game and continue to develop. And, you know, I don't think he's my biggest fan, to be honest with you, because I've been not necessarily hypercritical. I've been very, very honest with my evaluation of what I see on tape from Quay, which is an immensely, immensely talented football player, but he does some head scratching stuff. And as he progressed last year, you know, from start to finish, he did a lot better. Okay. I think he played exceptionally well against South Carolina. I think he played an above average game against Cincinnati, but there were still some things that made me go, where are you going, bro? What do you read? It's tough for me to do that every once in a while because I don't know where their actual fits are. You know, they do a whole bunch of funky stuff in their you know, run defensive game in terms of slants, stunts, gap fits, things like that. It's not just, hey, go find the football. So maybe he was in the right position. It just looked bad. But one play that comes to mind is right before the half against Alabama, where it's clear as day they're running stretch zone to the left. The offense is left. Quay Walker is standing over the left guard, and Buddy just takes off to the right. And the only thing I could think of was maybe he was man-to-man locked on with the tight end, but that's not what they do. They do what we call banjo coverage or in-and-out coverage. If he goes your way, you got him. If he comes my way, I got him. So the tight end running away would not impact Quay, in my opinion, on that play. And he ends up in backside C gap, and Najee Harris just, oh, look at this. Tackle or defensive end got reached. There's like 18 yards. He rushes for 18, 19 yards, gets out of bounds. And then next thing you know, Alabama's kicking a 52-yard field goal and gaining momentum before the half. That kind of stuff, it can't happen this year. So I think that's my guy if I were to point out a defensive player that's going to be a breakout guy for me this year. All right, here we go. Javon Ballard seems to have a high ceiling. Do you see him making an impact this year? I would kind of counteract you here, Darren, with this high ceiling, take, if you will. It's hard for me to sit here and say a nickel corner, a guy that's going to do most of his play in college in the box or around the box or at least in between the hashes. That's 5'9", has an incredible ceiling. I don't think that's the case. I think what is the case is if he turns into Tyke Smith, yeah, maybe I could see that. But you're still talking about a player that is 5'9". Okay, and it's really, really hard to overcome physical limitations. It's why you don't see Georgia recruit too many of those guys. Okay, Georgia's 2022 class at corner and defensive back, they will average 6'1.5", 6'2". Okay, they will average. Marquise Killebrew, 6'2". Malachi Starks, 6'2". All those guys they're recruiting. Kamari Wilson, 6 foot plus. Traquan Fagan's out there in Alabama. He's 6'2.5". He's a big, long corner. Okay, so the high ceiling discussion, not here. Well, I will tell you this about Javon. And one thing I've even dating back to my film breakdown of him when he was coming out of high school, that dude plays physical, man. He knows he's got physical limitations, but he plays balls to the wall at all times. So is he going to get on the field? Is he going to make an impact? Maybe not as a star, because now that star room's a little bit more thick in terms of Tyke Smith coming into it. Now Latavius Bernee presumably becoming a backup at the position. So I don't think he makes an impact at star this year, but he's going to light some folks up on special teams. I truly believe if he makes the bus this year, that's going to be the question, because you don't travel 10 DBs. Okay. You travel about 7. Oh, my bad. Chances of 2 running backs reaching 1,000 yards this season. That's a lot. But it's happened before at Georgia, right? Didn't Evander Holyfield and DeAndre Swift do it back in 2018? It's a possibility. The only thing I'm going to tell you is that there's 4 mouths to feed. Okay, maybe 5 if you want to include Dejon Edwards in that running back room. It's hard for me to sit here and say that knowing going into this year, Georgia's going to be a 53% pass to 47% run football team, in my opinion. They're going to throw it more than they've run it for the first time under Kirby Smart. I think that's what's going to happen. Maybe they did it in 2016, but I don't think it's been a while since it's happened at Georgia. maybe even dating back to the Aaron Murray days. But I think with how much you're going to be throwing the football this year at Georgia and with how many mouths you have to feed, it's really, really hard for me to sit here and say, oh, yeah, I mean, 1,000 yards, 2 backs, 100%. That's hard for me to sit here and say, okay? Yeah, we got a reaction to my Mims first comment. I love Amarius Mims, dude. I love that dude. Plus 50, don't really know what this is referring to. Here we go. In the 4-2-5 defense, who had the responsibility for the wheel route, and where was the breakdown for Georgia in games like last year's Florida matchup? So here's the thing. And I don't like to be hypercritical of defensive coordinators. I'm here to be critical of offensive coaches because that's my bag. That's what I know. Georgia does stuff that's like there's AP chemistry and then there's whatever the hell they're doing in terms of football knowledge. Like anybody outside of that program that can sit down and without a doubt know every single thing they're doing, they are lying to you. They are 100% lying to you. It's part of the beef that I got with companies like Pro Football Focus that establish grades, like actual grades to football players based off their film. You don't know what their responsibilities were, not without 100% doubt or without doubt at all. Like there's no way you know. So I don't know what they were trying to do defensively. I just know that most of the time they were matched up in one-on-one situations where the linebacker has the back out of the backfield, and that's where you were getting killed. But I didn't see any, adjustments to maybe running cover 2, like traditional cover 2, where you actually have a defender in the flat. Okay, that would have taken it away. But since 2017, Georgia hadn't done a lot of cover 2 coverage. They just don't run it. They run a lot of cover 3. They run a lot of cover 4. They run a lot of man-to-man coverage, right? And they run a lot of cover 3 cloud. Okay, they do a lot of that stuff, which none of that has a defender in the flat. So I didn't see any adjustments in the sense that, okay, they're killing us with wheels. Let's just sit the corner in the flat and let's hold them there. What I did see adjustment-wise was they just started saying, okay, Aziz, okay, upfield. If the back's on your side, fly upfield and go chip him and just throw him off his track. The only problem with that is now you're essentially taking a rusher out of the equation. So I saw them try to do some things in terms of adjustments. The only thing I would have said was, hey, can we just put a curl flat defender out there? Like, can you just leave one out there? I know it's going to hurt you. And what would end up happening is, I mean, Dan Mullen, as much as we hate on him, as much as I think he's a clown, not a clown, clown's strong. As much as I think he's not fit to be the face of a program, he is a great offensive coordinator, 1,000%, a face of a college football program because you don't want to recruit. He doesn't recruit very well, Uncle Dan. But as much as we bang on him, if you want to sit there and cover 2, he's just going to run Kyle Pitts on a flag route. That's all he's going to do. He's going to run Kadarius Toney on a corner. I mean, he's just going to attack you in a different way. He's just opening you up one way to attack you other ways. So it's really, really hard to sit here and say what they should have done. But I did have the question of, hey, why don't you just throw cover 2 in there every once in a while? That probably would have solved maybe a little bit of your issues. Man, SSL, I'm going to need your help tonight. We are loaded up here, and a lot of it's not just actual questions. Guys, make sure you're putting question marks on your questions so I can get to them. What's up, Chad Buchanan? Appreciate you for being here. I wish YouTube had a reply feature. Absolutely. I mean, I don't know where you heard that. Here we go. Zamir White transfer possibility. I mean, come on, guys. You don't. If the transfer for Zamir White would have been going to the NFL, you don't come back to transfer now. If he were to transfer right now, it would be 1,000% unprecedented. 1,000% unprecedented. And I do think he has a great season this year. What is the total number of catches / touchdowns for tight ends this year? So over the last, I think I've tracked this, over the last, 3 years since Isaac Nada, I don't think you've had a single tight end go over 30 receptions. I think that's going to change this year with the verticality of the offense and the 50-50 balls being taken away with George Pickens, at least for however many games he misses. You're going to see JT Daniels rely on Darnell Washington for these bailout plays, right, that we talk about so often on our Patreon film sessions. But 30 is a lot. Okay, so let's put it, especially when you got Brock Bowers and Fitzy in there, which If Fitzy catches 7 balls this year, I'll be shocked. He's in there to be an H-back. He's there to block, and he does a good job at it, and he tries hard at it. So I think between the 3 of them, right, between Bowers, Darnell, and Fitzy, I think you're looking at about 40 total receptions, which would be the most in the last 3 or 4 years. A, you're going to throw up more, like we talked about earlier. B, then you got much better talent at that tight end room than you have in the last couple of years. So those are my kind of assumptions. I don't know what their red zone game plan is, but it's all kind of luck at the tight end position in that sense. Unless you're Robert Gronkowski, y'all get mad at me for calling him Robert. Sorry, unless you're Gronk. Sorry for being technical for once. But unless you're Gronk, you're not really getting a boatload of red zone targets. But Darnell probably going to get some of those this year. Here we go. How would you handle cornerbacks for first game? I think I like guys. I know Amir Speed's not the hot name. I know everybody wants to see Jalen Kimber and Keely Ringo roll out there and maybe get some Nyland Green appearances. Amir Speed played pretty damn good in the spring game, guys, and he's a really talented football player. He's so big. I don't think you'll ever understand. I know you can read the roster and it says 6'3", 200 pounds. Guys, that kid is massive. He is like when you stand on the sideline, like I had the opportunity to do in 2019 before COVID hit. When you stand on the sideline, he's one of those players that just sticks out. Like he's just like, wow, look at that. That's a specimen. And he can move. Like the name is the name. I mean, speed. He's got speed, 100%. So I would play him, honestly. I would play him and then figure out through camp who wins that other job. Now, what I don't know, okay, and what I came to find out about DJ Daniel is Georgia loves to play left and right corner, which means you got to be able to be a field corner and you got to be able to be a boundary corner. If they don't believe that you can be a field corner, if they don't believe that you can set the run in boundary corners, they're going to find 2 guys that they know can do it, and they're going to play them on every down like they did last year with Eric Stokes and Tyson Campbell. So until they find that, which I believe Keely Ringo is that. He's a well-rounded corner. My questions about Jalen Kimber, right? If he's into the boundary and they go nub set where they just got a tight end over there and he has to squeeze down into the box, I'm worried about that. And guess what? Offenses know they're going to run at his butt. And vice versa with Amir. Can Amir be a field corner? Can he sit out there over a number 1 wide receiver with all that space out there and win his one-on-one? We'll find out those things come this fall. So that's what I would do. I would play the old guy first, let him figure it out, and figure out through camp who's that number 2 guy. Or in this case, maybe who's the number 1 guy. Oh, no. Y'all been taking screenshots of me again. Why y'all? I'm gonna stop Cameron. I'm just gonna stop going on camera. No, I'm not. That's a bold-faced lie. Why would I even say that? I'm not doing that. Why can't y'all get some flattering angles of me? I mean, seriously. I guess that ain't the bag over there. Does Milton come back next year? If he's 1B running back this year, he would almost have to. Kendall Milton's a sophomore this year, so he can't even go to the NFL. I guess you're asking if he's going to go into the – I don't think so. Here we go. Munkin got a couple of guys over 1,000 at running back in his last year as a head coach while having 4,000 yards passing. I think Zamir and Kendall can get their thoughts. Great question, Jeremiah. Great points. Southern Miss. That's all I got for you, right? It's not the SEC. And they had bell cows. They had Jalen Richard and Ito Smith. They had some dudes. And they were the only dudes, right? And Nick Mullins, who's been an NFL, he's still an NFL player. So he had an NFL quarterback, 2 NFL running backs in a conference that probably didn't have 3 NFL players on a single team. You know what I mean? So, yeah, the stats were daunting at Southern Miss, but they're going to be daunting at Southern Miss. They were also running like 75 plays per game. Kirby Smart will flip his lid if they're out there running 75 plays a game. I think it's going to be closer to like 68, 69, nice, 70 plays a game, but 75, 76, 77 plays a game, that ain't it. So, yeah, I mean, it's a possibility. I think you're definitely going to have the 4,000-yard quarterback. this year. I just don't know about whether or not you're going to have 2,000-yard rushers. That's a lot. Why not? 12 games in a season, conference championship, and playoffs. Solid point. 5 running backs to feed. Okay, so the thing I don't think we're all accounting for right here is at Southern Miss, Ito and Jalen were getting runs and getting touches if and when they were up in football games late. Nowadays at Georgia, it's going to be Dejon Edwards and Kenny McIntosh and Kendall Milton getting these touches. Maybe Lavoisier Carroll gets to get in there and get some touches for being a team player and switching over the corner. See what I'm saying? Y'all don't like Dan Mullen. I get it. When have you seen a backup getting 1,200 yards? He'd have to average 89 yards. Perfect example there, Jay. You get it. All right. Darren Jackson asks, what do you think about JDJ impact at middle linebacker this year? Okay, so if you've been around for a while, and we're going to rattle these off because you guys keep feeding them to me. I think we got 5 more minutes, guys. So if you don't want me to miss your question because I'm way behind, make sure you hit a super chat up. Then we'll get there. But if you followed my work, you know that I've been on the record saying, JDJ is one of my guys. I only do 3 or 4 of them a year. JDJ is one of my guys in this class, and it's because he's so schematically ready to play inside linebacker at Georgia as a true freshman. I cannot say the same thing about Smile Mondon, though spring practice kind of changed my mind there. Heard exceptional things about how well that kid's picking up the game. And we didn't get to see Xavier Sori this spring. But those 2 guys played more of an outside backer, like high school style outside backer role in high school, and they're not keen on their reads just yet. JDJ played in the exact same system in high school that they're going to ask him to play as a true freshman this year. Okay. Legitimate question. Do you see at least 2 of the running backs having 1,000 to 1,200 yards? Yeah. I mean, that's a lot more reasonable because I do think you're going to have, but on the flip side, I was going to say you're going to have James Cook eat it up in the passing game, but he might have 400 yards rushing, might. So which means he's going to have to get 600 yards receiving. That's out of the question, in my opinion. Guys, there's 5 people to feed in that backfield. 5. There's not 2 like there was in 2017. Well, I guess DeAndre Swift was a freshman, but there's 5. Okay? See, SSL, hit me up. Make sure I'm not missing anybody. I think we're actually done. We done? We're done. Swift hour and 7 minutes. Swift hour and 7 minutes. All right, before you go, hit that like button. Appreciate you. That'll help the views in the end on the replay factor. But please, for the love of everything that is righteous in the world, subscribe to the Patreon account, patreon.com/Brooks Austin. The link is in the bio. My guys that are big OG guys, been there for a fat minute. Tell them in the comment section right now what the value is over there. I mean, seriously, we have a great time. We're actually doing a 75-day challenge over there. So if you want to get in, maybe get right, get that body tight for the summer, hit us up over there, man. We got a whole channel dedicated. We start tomorrow in our 75-day challenge. Sobriety, okay, 45-minute workout every single day, 40% of your body weight in ounces of water. What was the other one? Read 10 pages at least in a book every single day. I think that's it. Oh, and follow a diet. Follow any diet you want. Follow a legitimate diet. Pay $10 to get made fun of 24/7. That's kind of a fact. Even I get made fun of. I think I might have been the main source of jokes, self-inflicted, over the last week or so, but that is what it is. I mean, it's all right. Ryan Mel, come on, dude. Value in Patreon is unmatched by any site. That's for y'all's opinion. Y'all know my bag on that one. I'm not out here trying to steal money from other people. I'm just trying to add value to whatever content you guys got. And that'll be my closing argument on this. Look, one thing I found about the Georgia fan base is I don't have to steal customers from other people. I don't have to. You guys are so ravenous about your dogs that you want everything. And yeah, maybe you prefer one thing over the other, and that's fine. If I'm not that guy, then I'm not that guy. But I have found that the family that we have, and it is a family, the family that we have on Patreon, in my opinion, not my opinion, in these guys' opinions, based off this comment right here, and this isn't the first one, it won't be the last one. It's something different. I can't explain it. I don't know what we did. I don't know how it worked. don't get it. I've had people reach out to me and they're like, hey, man, how'd you get the Patreon off the ground? I'm like, if I sat here and told you that I knew, I don't know. The information's great. Don't get me wrong. The inside intel is unmatched, in my opinion. There's a lot of information that gets out over there, and a lot of solid information. We haven't missed very many times, hardly any. But apart from that, it is that family environment. I think that's something we pride ourselves on over there. So if you want to be a part of a great group of people that obviously share a common interest, apart from me, I'll share a common interest in the Georgia football program. I'm just a bystander that gives opinions about it. Then come on. I think this is the best way to put it. It's a sick, twisted, messed up family you never thought you wanted. But once you're in it, you realize you never wanted anything else. It's a great way to put it. It's a great way to put it. And guys, we do have, I'm going to give away, me personally, I'm going to give away 3 free subscriptions to our Patreon service tonight. So if that's you, hit me up on whether it be Twitter, hit me up at my email account, brooks7711@gmail.com. I got to get a much more professional one than that. But anyways, hit me up there, find me, hit me up, and we will get you one of those free 3 subscriptions over there on Patreon. All right, I'm out of here. We appreciate you guys. Oh, wait, did Cody Ledoux just show up? There he is. We got to give him some love. You're late, baby. You missed us last week when we talked about you tied. We actually gave you Ty some credit last week, Cody, but I know you told us in the comments that you had your son's birthday. So believe it or not, you got morals, baby, which is good. Hats off to you, dog. Appreciate you for being here, bro, though. Seriously. We'll see you guys next time. I can't believe I just took time out of my day to show a Bama fan some love, but it is all love, man. We appreciate you for being here. And always, I will see you guys next time.